Okay, so for an intersecting roof, the first thing we're going to do is select intersecting roof from our drop-down list. Now, you'll see this will pop up right here. So we need to decide what is going to be our main roof and what is going to be our intersecting roof. Now, our main roof will generally be the larger, taller roof, whereas our intersecting roof will be framed onto that, right? So it's important that you delimitate between the two. So for example, in this example, this will be our main roof and this will be our intersecting roof right here, right? For this example right here, this will be our main roof, right? And this would be our intersecting roof, right? So you can see the intersecting roof sometimes will come lower, won't meet up on the ridge. Your main roof will always be either at the same height as your intersecting roof or taller than your intersecting roof, right? So once we've determined what is our main roof and what is our intersecting roof, we just have to make sure we input the measurements correctly. So the house length of our main roof, right, you can see this says main roof right here, is going to be the total length of this main roof. So let's say, for example, we want to do this house as an example. Let's say this main roof, like this ridge, is going to be about 40 feet long and it's going to be about 25 feet wide, right? So we can go back to our, right, we'll click 40 feet long, 25 feet in width, and then we have to select our pitch. So we'll say that this is, you know, looks about like, let's call it a 12 pitch. Select 12, then select our rafter dimension. Now for our intersecting roof, right, we're going to have to select our pitch of our intersecting roof, right? So that we'll call that a, you know, that looks kind of the same pitch, so we'll call that another 12 pitch. And then what's important is that you follow, for intersecting length and intersecting width, you can look up here and this will kind of tell you what measurements to take, right? Intersecting width and intersecting length. So from here, this will be our intersecting length and this will be our intersecting width. So let's call this 20 feet long and we'll say it's 15 feet wide. So you put 20 feet long, 15 feet wide. Now if we go over to our readout section, you're going to see we already have, based on this small amount of input, how many common rafters we need for our main roof. If we scroll down here, our intersecting rafters as well as our jack rafters and our valley rafter or sleeper, right? So this will give you the length of the rafter. It's pretty accurate, but depending on certain things, you know, I would use this more as sort of like an estimate. I wouldn't base your cuts exactly off this measurement right here. Now, for example, let's say we were just framing, you were doing an addition, right? You had this roof and then you were just framing this section right here. What you could do is you don't have to put in the length and width of the house, right? But you have to plug the pitch, right? You make sure you put the pitch for your main roof because it uses, in order to calculate the jack rafters and the valley rafters or sleeper, that angle really matters a lot. So let's see, like if you take that off, you see it won't be able to calculate that because it's going to need the pitch of your main roof in order to calculate what the length of our jack rafters and our sleeper rafters will be, right? So that's important information to know. Now, the only other thing we need to know is whether or not this thing is overframed or valley rafter, right? Now, an overframe is going to be when you frame up the main roof just like normal, as if there wasn't, you know, you're going to have full rafters, and then you're going to overframe, frame onto that sheathing or full set of rafters on your main roof. A valley framing is where you're going to have a true valley rafter right here, right? And then both the main roof and the intersecting roof will have jack rafters, right? So if you click, if you see right here, we scroll over to our readout for our main roof. Let's go 40 feet long, 25 feet wide. You can see we don't have any valley jacks, right? But if we click valley right here, that's going to, you know, it's going to change the length of full rafters you need because it's going to calculate what the lumber you're going to need for your valley jacks, right? And so that's important information to know as well. So to summarize, you know, if you just want to calculate this intersecting roof, but you don't want to calculate the rafters here, make sure you put in the pitch, but you don't have to include the length and the width of your main roof. Depending on whether or not you want to, this is an overframed roof or a valley. If you want to have a true valley rafter, make sure you click that here. Also, if you had a second intersecting gable, let's say there was another intersecting gable on, right here, click that, and you'll have another section you can put your intersecting roof on.